Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. And I'm happy to be with you here, second day of this first week of the month of July. I hope you're having a good summer. I don't know how you think about it, but when I had my farm, I felt like once I got to July, most of the summer was over. It really wasn't, but it just went by so fast. So I'm hoping the important things that you had scheduled, you've gotten to, or at least they're in cement on your calendar so you can do those things. Well, today I've been talked yesterday about John chapter 14. Today I have another couple of verses. This time, John chapter 14, verses 6 and 7. Jesus told him, now the him is Thomas, who was asking him a question. I am the truth, the way, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had really known me, you would know who my Father is. From now on, you do know him, and you have seen him. Well, Jesus makes a profound statement here. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Now, I understand that in our culture, in this world, there are a lot of other ways that people talk about of how to find God. Most of them are dependent on what you do. If you do this, this, and this, then God may accept you. Christianity is the only religion where God did it for you. In other words, it's not dependent on what you did or do. It's dependent on what God did. Now, if you accept him into your life, then yeah, you have to live that way. But let's just back up here. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Well, how do we know what that means? Well, actually, it's fairly simple. You just have to know what he said and what he did. And all of that's found in the Gospels. Now, the letters of the New Testament help explain it, and that's a good point. But when it comes down to what's really true, it's the Gospels. It's Jesus' life. I have a son. I think I've mentioned this to you. I think he's going to end up being a Christian even beside of himself. He's always asking spiritual questions. And one time he said, Dad, I don't know what the truth is. I said, well, son, read Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7, Sermon on the Mount. That's the truth. Well, what about, I said, no, son, you asked me what was the truth. I'm telling you, chapters 5, 6, and 7 of the Gospel of Matthew. That's the truth. And that's what we live by, or should live by. Now, I just want to ask you, in that sermon, are you living by the words of Jesus? If you are living by them, not, remember I said living by, not just intellectually agreeing with. If you're living by those words, then Jesus said, you come to the Father. Now, he's talking about eternal life. And I know, once again, well, what about all these other people who don't know Christ or Jesus? Are they going to go to heaven? What about all those other people who've never heard? And someone asked me that recently, and I said, well, here's my answer. I don't know. But somehow, it seems to me, now this is me thinking, that's it. Somehow, if God is a God of great compassion, then there has to be a way where they will hear about Jesus before something happens with eternity. I don't know what that is. I don't know that process. Don't know anything about it. But it just seems to me like that would make sense. But what I know is that Jesus is the way. His words are the truth. His life is the example of what you and I should be doing if we call ourselves Christians. Now, I'm not suggesting that you can't be happy in this world without Jesus. Personally, I don't want to try. I've spent what, almost 50 years trying to walk in his ways. Yeah, that dates me. You can add it up if you want. But if we can see who Jesus is, then we know who God is. And there's no question about it. Now, for those of you who are mad at God, because, I don't know, you're just mad at him. You tried something that he said, you didn't like it, didn't work out, so boom, you're mad at him. For those of you who are mad at him, I'd like to give you an option. Why not try reading and listening and following Jesus for a month? What do you got to lose? At the end of the month, if you still think it's hogwash, well, then go back to where you were. But if you're challenged a little bit to say, maybe there's something to this, well, then you can go and do a little more research. Jesus is trying to tell the disciples, hey, my time on this earth is over, but it wasn't wasted. There is another way to live, the way of compassion and caring and forgiveness and trusting God. And that way is still available here 2,000 years later. I'd like to encourage you to just think about that. I don't know what response you want to make. You decide that. But take a couple of minutes and read this verse, John 14, verses 6 and 7, and ponder it. Well, thanks for listening. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. I'll be back tomorrow with some more from John 14. Hope you'll join me. God bless you. Talk to you then.